And hello once again, everybody. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublett from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. It's 11 o'clock on this Friday morning, and we are watching a large line of thunderstorms pushing into Richmond from the west this morning. A little unusual to have it this time of the morning, but certainly not without precedent. So let's take a walk through where things stand right now across Central Virginia. So let's pull up the tools and show you what we're kind of up against here. So this is the last 1 hour's worth of radar imagery here, centered right here on Richmond. And the brighter returns here, you're probably familiar with these, the classical oranges and red showing you where the heaviest precipitation is, and then a broader area of rain farther off to the west. So the leading edge of this right now is just about on approach to Ashland. It's getting into Glen Allen right now. Some of the heavier rain is pushing a little bit closer to Brandon Mill, Swift Creek Reservoir, and certainly now almost clearing Amelia County and on approach to Matoaka and Petersburg as well. The one positive thing we could say over the last 1 hour to 90 minutes or so is that the intensity of these storms has begun to back off a little bit. That's not to say that there's not the potential for some wind damage, but these looked a lot worse about 3-4 hours ago. First thing this morning, we've already had wind damage in Bedford County, just westward from Lynchburg this morning. But those particular cells, again, have weakened a little bit. Not to say we're not going to get heavy rain, because we certainly are, and there will be some gusty winds to go along with these storms as they push across the metropolitan area, effectively between about now and 1 o'clock or so this afternoon. In fact, we've just now gotten an alert from the National Weather Service office, and frankly, I'll just read it along with you for this particular line of storms right now. It's coming in, and let's see what it has to say. So this particular line of thunderstorms, which is extending from Ashland down to the western suburbs of Richmond and effectively down to Prince Edward County, the winds are running at about 40 miles per hour. They could take down some tree limbs and blow around some unsecured objects. But for the moment, it does not look like these winds are going to rise to the level of true damage to roofs and knocking down big trees and that kind of stuff. Having said that, you don't want to be driving around in these things if you can help it, especially here between now and say about 11:30 or 12. Wait till the worst of this passes. So yeah, strong winds certainly possible with these storms. There has been a history of wind damage, but for the moment, we're in a much better spot than it looked as recently as just about 60 to 90 minutes or so. I want to pull this tool up here. This is our special wind tool. If you've heard of Doppler radar, this is what it's all about. It looks inside of the storm to figure out if the winds are going toward or away from the radar, and this goes a long way in helping us determine whether or not there's a circulation and a potential for a tornado in any of these storms. So what we're looking at here, it's kind of splattered paint, as a colleague of mine in Alabama once said. But we're looking for little areas where there's very bright greens next to very bright or dark reds for some kind of circulation. And we don't see a lot of that, at least for the moment. We do see these brighter greens down here in Amelia County. That's suggesting where we do have some much stronger straight line winds running on the order of about 40-45 miles per hour. So this is the area here in western Chesterfield County where I think we're going to see the strongest winds in the next 15 to 30 minutes or so. So let's turn that one off. And I want to zoom in a little bit more into that location. So we're going to go in here a little bit further, pull up a few more of the communities. So there's Midlothian. We'll pull up the arrow tool again. So there's Midlothian. That's going to be Brandon Mill and the like there. Yeah, new things popping up from our friends at the Weather Service in Wakefield. There's 360 Hull Street Road going into the city. So Chester's down here, Chesterfield Courthouse, and this little stripe here is Route 288 going into 95. There's downtown Richmond, Verina, Highland Springs off to the eastern side. And again, right now we're looking at a loop that's about an hour long. Let's shorten that a little bit and so we get a better handle on what's been happening in these last 30 minutes or so. So you see these things are moving along at a pretty good clip, but the heavier rain is now settled into areas just to the west of Midlothian and extending down here beyond Swan Quarter and ultimately down toward the Appomattox River. So all this pushing into the rest of Chesterfield County, South Richmond, ultimately into Henrico County over the next 15 to 35 minutes or so. Look for some wind gusts upwards of about 40 miles per hour, some down limbs, but we don't see these things taking down an awful lot in the way of trees or anything like that, fortunately, because they have weakened a little bit over the course of the last 30 to 60 minutes or so. Let's pull out a little bit further, and we'll move the radar so you can see what else is upstream. So the big game of town, if, as it were, is right here. This is this initial wave of storms that comes through between about now and let's say 11:30, 11:45, getting across the metropolitan area. And then there's just this broader area of rain. The other thing to be mindful of, there's not an awful lot of thunder and lightning with these, so don't let them sneak up on you. You're not going to get as much of that announcement from the thunder and lightning as you might oftentimes get during the late spring and early summer, but these do have some very strong winds indeed with them. So that's the big story going forward here in the next 1 to 2 hours or so. Pulling back a little bit farther, one of the things I want to show you here is the tornado watch. This went up first thing this morning. Tornado watch for all of greater Richmond, all the way up to D.C., down to Raleigh, and westward out to the Blue Ridge. This means that conditions are still favorable for the development of storms with damaging winds, whether or not they're tornadic or not. That means there's sufficient spin that there could be tornadoes dropping out of some of these cells. They're not especially high risk, but that chance is still there and can't be entirely discounted. We do expect that this will be allowed to expire at 2 o'clock. So we do think we're going to get a little bit of a break this afternoon, but we're not overly confident that everything is going to be all done after this initial wave goes through. And there's all the active warnings, and you can see we don't have any right now. The only thing regarding a severe thunderstorm tornado warning is up here much farther northward up toward Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania County. So in Richmond, we're in a reasonably good spot, all things considered. Let's go forward into the afternoon. And remember, this is the simulated radar and cloud cover as the wind's starting to pick up here in my location out in Midlothian. So the leading edge goes through this around noon, shifts farther eastward, closer towards 1 o'clock, and then you see it's mostly just kind of cloudy, hit or miss kind of showers through 2, 3, 4 o'clock. But look out there toward Farmville, Charlottesville. Those are areas that we may see redevelopment, and those would likely come through here much later on in the evening, let's say 6, 7, 8 o'clock. So the first wave comes through pretty much now. Then there's a break this afternoon. Be on the lookout for some minor damage in some of these storms. Tornado watch probably is expired at 2 o'clock, but do watch for another round of showers, perhaps thunder showers later on in the evening. Once we get past that, we're in a pretty good spot for the weekend. It's clouds and sun tomorrow and 76. 84 sun on Sunday. Memorial Day, if you're attending some of the ceremonies, please be mindful. There's not going to be a lot of wind. It's going to be sunny. There's not going to be a lot of cloud cover. It's going to start to get more humid and be up around 90. So be sure and hydrate and take sun protection if you're in some of the observances and services on Monday afternoon. Again, thanks for joining us for the live stream this afternoon or this morning. And we appreciate you subscribing to the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Everybody be safe. I think we will weather through this without too much trouble. But don't be surprised if there's a little wind damage out there a little bit later on over the next 1 to 2 hours. Be safe, everyone.